Hello everyone, I'm Nadia Munla. I'm an embodiment and intimacy coach, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about why your words are killing your relationship, guys. Wow, as someone who is still very verbal in her expression, this was one of my, I would say, biggest lessons over the years of looking at my own intimacy dynamics and the way in which I operate in romantic relationship. And what I really have come to realize, and what I see now when I'm coaching my clients on the same topic, is that we are so obsessed with figuring it out, strategizing, using language to, talk through every single angle. I've had couples who come to me who are just literally mapping out all the stuff, like pros and cons and things and visions and whatever. And it's not necessarily bad. It's just that we have gotten so used to, we've been fed this idea that we can always sort of figure it out with our heads. And really, so much of this is actually about the body. So much of this is actually about our hearts and our energetics and the creation of polarity, of opposites, right? Of magnetism between the two, as opposed to figuring it out here. As long as you're up here, you're just operating in this mode where it's just like, and so language can actually be incredibly detrimental. And yes, there's a time and place for communication and for frameworks and for to be able to really figure out, okay, how do we have these challenging conversations? How do we brainstorm? How do we vision? All of that. But more often than not, the less words, the better. And I see this also with individual journeys. So even if you take away the dynamic with another human, this happens actually first and foremost within ourselves, where we start to have a feeling. And the first thing we do is we eject out of that feeling. We avoid feeling the feeling, and we instead go into figuring out how to solve it, and so that we do not have the feeling. And of course, the counterintuitive thing, and what is so often spoken about in Tantra, is the idea that it is that by actually feeling the feeling that you move through the feeling. But we're always trying to figure out how to not feel the feeling and to sort of just literally jump over the feeling. Oh, I don't need to feel that feeling. I'm just going to keep going because I got shit to do, And so the same thing comes up in conflict in couples, where we don't take enough time to actually drop into our hearts. We think we're in feeling when we're freaking out and in trigger, but that's actually just your reptilian brain going into okay, there's a predator in front of me. Let's eliminate the predator, whether that means running, the other way, or actually fighting them. And which is really what we're doing when we're in conflict, right? With our partners. But we don't take enough time to slow down and actually feel our hearts and go, wait, hold on. What's going on underneath all of this? What do I need to feel right now? And so step one is we don't allow ourselves to feel it, which means there's no way to get to step two if you don't go through step one, which is then to be able to express it. And, there's two ways to express it. There's the verbal expression, but then there's a more masterful way of doing that, which is nonverbal expression. How do you just show how you feel to your partner? Because my guess is the moment that they see the pain, the sadness, the disappointment, the anger, whatever it might be, that is really truly at the core of your heart, there is going to be a softening in them. They are going to realize there is no threat. Their nervous system will regulate, and therefore through co-regulating, your nervous system will then regulate, and then you'll be able to come to a place where maybe words become more significant, right? But really the idea is that there is just so many there's just so much focus always on verbal communication, figuring it out, heady stuff. And often what's so much simpler but so much harder is to just drop down into our bodies and really feel what's actually true. And start by doing that as a solo practice for yourself, and then move into doing that as a practice between you and the person you are dating, the person you are in relationship with, the person you are married to. And just notice the slight shifts that start to happen. To be clear, this isn't just a simple practice, this is an ongoing practice. So don't expect for it to happen overnight, because dropping into our hearts after years of trying to totally eject out of it is really just not going to happen overnight. But it is truly the most important practice that we need to have in order to be able to create the right ethos for our relationship pre-conflict, to be able to slow down and feel into what's true during conflict and regulate, and then post-conflict to be able to actually have the words to, and the frame to be able to look back, oh look, I see what happened, you know, my inner little girl didn't feel safe because of this and that. Be able to have that conversation where you come to a resolution, where you start to pick up the patterns you have, the dynamics you have in your relationship, and you can start to shift them together. But these are sort of the different areas where in all cases, really tapping back into your heart and then being able to express it as much as you can non-verbally is actually the medicine and the solution here. Let me know how it goes.